So the best lens, the best all-round lens is nice. Welcome back to my channel. This is me with the shadow there, I see. Shit, who cares? It's not about the shadow, it's about you finding the right lens when you are starting out. So through the years, a lot of people have asked me, like, what kind of lens should I buy to my camera when I'm starting out and I want to produce a lot of different content to my business, or the business is supposed to be a video business and I will produce for clients and stuff like that, or maybe even a YouTube channel. So the question is, what's the best all-round lens for videography if you're going to do whatever, even for photography, and you need it to be fast, efficient, but for a okay price? Because that is the challenge when we're starting out with a lot of things, right? It's the money, and we want that high standard that we have in our head. So how can we figure that out when we don't have any money? Well, that's a bit tricky, because you need to still spend some money, but you do not need to spend it on prime lenses or stuff like that, which would be a dream, to have a lot of prime lenses, Ari or something like that. That would be cool, but I don't got it, and you don't need it probably either if you're watching this video, because this is about starting, and this is about to find the best all-round lens that works for the most of these situations we are in. And I'm sure that you heard a lot of stories like, oh, you should have this lens and that lens and this lens, and you heard a lot of stories and answers to your questions that just made you confused. And I understand that, because it is confusing. It's a jungle with lenses out there, and all those stories and answers that you heard is confusing because they are probably true, because there is a lot of different lenses for a lot of different situations and stuff like that. Through the years, I've been filming a lot of different kind of stuff, and then actually I just used one lens most of the time, one lens, and I had many, but I just used one lens for the most of the time, because it works in so many different situations. So the best lens, the best all-round lens, is about the focal length, okay? Because if we talk the focal length and also the aperture, then you can find it to your specific camera, because there's a lot of different camera systems out there. The focal length is 24 to 70 millimeter, so it's a zoom lens. And that is what I recommend that you start out with, because you can use it for everything. With a zoom lens 24 to 70 millimeter, you can have wide images, you can have close-ups, you can do whatever you want, and you can be really creative with this zoom. But something that is very important is the aperture. And I got a 2.8 aperture, which means the iris in the lens opens up a lot, which means you get this short depth of field, which makes it creamy and nice and cinematic in a way. And that's how you can keep that high standard of yours, right? Because it looks a little more cinematic, it's more of a film vibe than a video vibe, and that's what you want. These ones is a little bit more expensive when you have the Lock 2.8. There's a whole science in these zoom lenses. It's actually harder for the manufacturers I can't say that word, to create zoom lenses, because there's a lot of things going on in here when you're zooming here. So a lot of zoom lenses, you've probably seen it, that it goes from maybe 4.5 in aperture to suddenly it's like in 5.6 or something like that, and you start to get that video vibe, and everything gets darker in the camera, and you need to cheat a little bit on the ISO if you don't got enough light and stuff like that, and that usually is not good. And right, and this whole aperture thing is that the lower number you get, the more open the iris is, and it's like blades in there that opens up, which means the camera can let in more light. So the lower the number you have, the better your lens low light capability is. So if you can open up the iris with a low number, like that, like a flower that is growing, all that light is coming in there, and that really helps if you got bad lighting, if you're in some kind of place that just have a couple of windows and you have no power or something like that. Who knows what the scenario is, but it's always good for many reasons to have a lens with a low number on the aperture, because then you can let in a lot of light and you got that nice blurry background. Yeah, like if you don't have have a strong light like that I can barely look into, then it's really good to have a 2.8 aperture, because you need it. So that's one of the positive aspects as well with a lower aperture. But the thing is, if you have great lighting and you don't care about a little bit like a blur background like I got now, then you don't need 2.8. Maybe you can go on this a little bit cheaper zoom lens that has like a 4.5 to 5.6, something like that aperture. They are often much cheaper actually. It depends on what you want to do, right? If you don't care about that it gets darker in the camera and stuff like that, and you need to pump up that ISO and you need to change settings when you're zooming, stuff like, if you don't care about that, then you don't care about that. But if you want as little headache as possible and the best kind of end result as possible, then you should go for the 2.8. Sure, it's a little bit more expensive, but still, it's not like the prime lenses that exist. I know that Sony here, they got lenses for $3,000, but this is half the price, and you got even cheaper like Tamron or Samyang probably got some, and so on and so on. So 24 to 70 millimeter focal length, and the aperture is 2.8. That is important. That is what you should look for first, and then there's a lot of different things like what's the best quality, what's the weight of the lens and stuff like that. But in the beginning, don't care about that. Like, find the right lens for you and do the work. All those other details, who cares really in the beginning? Like, who cares? So when I had the A7S II, I had a Tamron 24-70, and I used it for everything basically. But that was a Canon mount, so I had a Metabone between it, but it was really good. Now I'm super lucky that I just have one kind of camera system. I got the E-mount and I got the Tamron on here, but this is the Sigma Art 24-70. And there, I know that Tamron got a 28-75, so there's maybe some lenses out there that is not the exact same focal length, but if you're in this area 24-70, you can get it all. You can even vlog with it, you can do landscape photography, you can do like whatever, and you can get those close-ups, and you can do really fast, like from 1 second you're doing a full body shot and then boom, you got a close-up. That's important. That is important, and it doesn't matter how much you do this, it's still in 2.8. I hope that will ease your mind a little bit. Like, just start with a 24-70 and you will have all kind of scenarios covered, which is great. If you're more of a vlogger, then you should look at even wider lenses, I would say. Like right now I have a 17-28 millimeter from Tamron. But anyway, that's another video, who cares. Best all-round lens is this 24-70 millimeter. Doesn't matter which kind of brand, doesn't matter which camera you have. If you got a, say like a Canon or a Sony, look what lens fits to that camera. I almost forgot, it's one thing that is important with lenses. Both of my lenses is full format lenses. If you got a full format camera like I do, then if I film in 24 millimeter, then I will have 24 millimeter, and if I do it in 70, I will have a real 70 millimeter shot right there. But if you got a smaller sensor, like a crop sensor, like an APS-C sensor, then if you put a full format lens on, if you put this on, then 24 will be like 35 or something like that. So you cannot put an APS-C lens or a non-full format lens on a full format camera. You can't. You will have like around the edges, it will be like black and stuff like that. You can get around it in some ways, like in this camera you can put a 35 millimeter mode on, and then you can use those kind of lenses. But that's you don't want that headache. I would say choose one camera system that the lenses fits on, and choose full format or not. If you want to go a little bit cheaper, don't do the full format thing, and you don't need it. Basically, it depends on what you want to do. Maybe that's another video, who knows. 24-70 millimeter, baby. Yeah. But don't spend too much money. That's the best advice. If you're starting out, you want to spend that money, but you want that standard / quality, what now quality is, and you want to make money, right? I know people who bought red cameras, but they don't know how to use it. What's the point? Think it through and just start great. Good luck. I wish you the best. Have a great day. Please subscribe and all of that jazz. Please do it. I would appreciate it. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't got the out in. Oh, I can change that. One last thing. If you're going for the 2.8, make sure that the lens is sharp from the beginning, because the more you open up the iris and the lower the number gets in the aperture, the less sharp the lens is becoming. Oh, English. Bye.